everyone. I'm recording at the beginning of week 3. Digital culture cannot solve problems which require a human face. It's messy and imperfect, but it's more democratic than traditional forms of media because there are few to no gatekeepers anymore. I found the videos from Engaged Media to be less affecting. The human aspect, people reaching out to one another, igniting empathy and understanding, is what's necessary to make information meaningful, and meaning is necessary to spark social change. The engaged videos can open our eyes to more subtle workings of the world rather than the big disruptive issues. These sites need to make the experience more immersive, from providing better context for their viewers to giving them ways to get involved. They need to evolve into something engaging. The posts and comments last week were so provocative, so cogent, so interesting that I wish that we could all come together with the organizers of Witness, like Sam Gregory or Enrico from Engaged Media, and just have a long and involved dialogue about the issues, challenges that come up making these kinds of spaces available. We understand the kind of advocacy campaign model that Witness uses. But I just want to say that Engage, in my mind, is different. It collects voices from other countries with different perspectives, non-Western perspectives especially, from the ground up, who've never had agency, never had autonomy of their own, and now are able to use media tools of their very own. This is huge, this is revolutionary, and we don't even really know yet what the impact of this is going to be. The various pieces really do have multiple uses in their own cultures. And I just like to point out that we may want to consider the idea that we are bystanders in a space like this. And the flows that are being created with these media artifacts may not be directed towards us. They may be directed towards other people with other ideas, other uses than ours, and they may not necessarily be meant for Western audiences. As audiences, we have to consider the idea that we are not the main event and that we are watching and evaluating from a dominant cultural perspective. And there is something going on here that's very different and very outside of the norms that we're used to. And another thing I wanted to point out was the idea of this kind of multimedia environment that we find on both sites was unthinkable even 8 years ago. With the emergent proliferation of broadband, we're seeing work that was really only a visionary dream, even in 2004 and 2005. So I want to conclude this by saying we shouldn't try and marginalize these kinds of projects because they're not made for the forms of evaluation that we're used to, professional versus amateur, understanding versus not understanding. We simply don't know. And as explainers, we would be the ones to take these works and reframe, recontextualize them. And that brings us to week 3. As we examine these examples of context, what we're finding, I think, is a thread that runs through all 3 of them, which is about listening. I invite you also to discern when and why and how video, for example, is effective as a communication medium. Is it an emotional truth? Is it evidence? When do we use audio? Why would you choose sound and voice as opposed to video or print? And then when is text, when is print really the most effective use on a multimedia site? And photography, when are stills best used? And when do you decide or discern ways that you would employ each one of these different devices? You're going to be seeing 3 very interestingly resourced projects. Mapping Memories is funded by the National Film Board of Canada. It was a multi-year program, and it included lots of different people in many different forms working on it. It was highly resourced. I would ask that you start by looking at the guiding principles that inform this amazingly rich and engaged project. And then we have the interview project by a group that's executive produced by David Lynch. The interview project that we're watching was made in 2009. It was highly industry resourced, but there is a magical sort of effect that has in the way that it listens, the way that it contextualizes and contains interviews. And I just want you to think about the bigger picture as you step outside of individual works and look at what is happening here. What is happening in the larger picture of these digital projects, how they communicate and how they circulate. And finally, you're going to be looking at the Center for Digital Storytelling, which has really produced over the last 20 years a methodology to share stories through a workshop process. I'd like you to check out their About page, their YouTube channel, their examples, and really look at how Center for Digital Storytelling is moving into the spaces in a different way than you've seen to date. All three of these are slow moving, making context in ways that we haven't considered before. I look forward to seeing your posts, your comments, and the discussion. Thanks.